Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show and happy Friday. Lots to get to today, including more on the cover-up of former President Biden's cognitive decline. And I really feel like we need to say attempted cover-up. Attempted. We knew. Anyone with eyes and ears knew. But there was more to it than was publicly revealed, and that's starting to come out. And by the way, it's going to keep coming out. This book by Tapper and Thompson is not the last. There will be additional books. There will be, now that people have realized you can make money off of telling the truth about him, more people will do it. That's America. Also, an investigation now into his use of the auto pen. You've heard President Trump railing about this. Did you know there's actually an investigation underway right now into that? And there is reportedly a whistleblower, a top Democrat, who has come forward to the person doing the investigation to say exactly who was running the auto pen and why. So we could actually learn a lot more about that. Plus, Scott Pelley whines about the Trump administration in a wild commencement speech down at Wake Forest University. Those poor kids at Wake Forest, why were they subjected to Scott Pelley? Who's making these choices? All that plus at the world premiere, you thought we were done, but we're not. The world premiere of part 3 of With Love, Megyn. Yes, Maureen Callahan and my take on Meghan Markle's ridiculous Netflix show, our own homemade parody of it, has a third and final part, and you will see it today here only. Here to discuss it all and more, the host of the new hit podcast, The Nerve with Maureen Callahan, the lady herself, on the MK Media Podcast Network, and she's a columnist for the Daily Mail too. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity and that the American dream starts with purpose. By honoring your career calling, you can impact your family, friends, and your community. Change the world for good by putting others before yourself. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 340 academic programs as of September 2024, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. Maureen Callahan, welcome.
Well, thank you, Megyn Kelly.
Oh, it's so fun to have you.
I can't wait. Our Fridays together are the most fun.
Is it just me, or has the success of The Nerve taken you next level glam and beautiful and fabulous? Because you've never looked better.
Well, thank you. I have been getting a glow up, I will say. I've been introduced to extensions.
Aren't they wonderful?
They're the best. Except, I have to take them out at night because my hair is so damaged from going platinum.
No. I am going to hook you up with Sarah, who you know already, because we were astronauts together.
Okay, we're forever,
Yeah. And she's going to make life easy for you.
Okay. Well,
just a couple extras in there, give you just a little extra vavoom.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a lot to go over. I think we should start with Diddy because...
Let's do it.
Can we just put the legality to the side for 1 second and just start with what an incredible, disgusting dirtbag we're learning he is. He denies everything. He doesn't deny smacking her and kicking her and hitting her on the intercontinental tape. So we know he did that. Mm-hmm. But witness by witness, what we're seeing is this guy's a monster. And we've had his former assistants come forward to talk about the abuse they witnessed this week. There was one saying he quit because he just couldn't stand the amount of abuse that he was heaping, not just on star witness Cassie Ventura, but other women too. Mm-hmm. And just pretty much everybody who takes the stand has another story about Diddy abusing some woman. Brutally abusing them.
Yes, and even his, I believe, PA, his personal assistant, was brutalized for, Diddy sent him to go to Whole Foods. I love the details, right? Like the quotidian details where you're like, oh, Diddy's shopping at Whole Foods or buying baby oil in bulk at Costco, right? Like the sort of pedestrian things that, you or I might engage in. And he said, go get me a gallon of some kind of ionized water. I don't know. They didn't have a gallon in stock. So he comes back with 2 half gallons, equaling 1 gallon. But he was savaged for that because Diddy wanted the 1 gallon. So it's like those details. But this week, has seen so many great characters. Like my favorite was the Punisher.
Yeah, you're right. The sex worker.
Okay, the sex worker who is dressed like something out of a Marvel comic, like an S&M Marvel comic, right?
Right,
like
on
the
brand.
mask with the spikes on it, and then like the this and the that, and he's self-published a book called Freezer Meat.
That was an interesting moment where they asked him why.
And the feds had the front and back cover in full color of the illo. Like, it's like wild stuff's going on. And so the Punisher, who I need to start following on Instagram.
Right. He needs to become part of our life.
Definitely. So he's talking about his book Freezer Meat was about erectile dysfunction.
Right.
And he had trouble performing for Diddy and Cassie. And Diddy, who he the first encounter, in comes this like oiled up black man, naked except for a burqa. Like it's these details where you're like,
what?
What's going on in these hotel rooms? Like, it's kind of funny. Like, there's something like his dignity, whatever dignity Sean Combs may have had is being stripped away. Like with every single witness who gets on that stand, you know?
Yes. So the lawyer asked him, why would you call your book Freezer Meat? And he said, what's harder than that? And his book is about erectile dysfunction.
What's harder than freezer meat?
I could think of a couple of things. But in any event, that is him, I guess, being self-deprecating. But yeah, I guess he's had a problem with this, which, I mean, frankly, he's in the wrong line of work because you can get away with that as a news anchor. Nobody would ever know. Like, if you're going into the sex worker trade, it does become an issue, I imagine. And he was talking about how, I imagine when you're having like forced sex or sex acts with Cassie Ventura and somebody's watching you, what he suggested was he'd been performing oral on her and then Diddy wanted him to, go the next level and he couldn't. And so he's writing about like this erectile dysfunction problem, talking about it, that he's having in the midst of this so-called freak off, making him perhaps not the ideal candidate for the freak off. But all of this is just background to like the serial weird sexual obsessions of P. Diddy and his treating Cassie Ventura like she was a piece of meat, like she was his property. That's what we're getting.
Yes. And some of the more harrowing testimony, I think, came from Cassie's mother, who got on the stand and said Sean Combs personally called her. Like, he could have had one of his henchmen do it, but he personally called her and said, if you don't give me $20,000, I am going to release a sex tape of your daughter. This woman is not for money, okay? She had to refinance her house to get $20,000, which for Sean Combs is like changing the couch cushions. You know what I mean?
He's got that in that Gucci bag he has a security guard carrying around.
He's running around with like hundreds of thousands of dollars so he can pay people off at these hotels, right? She had to refinance her house, which takes months to do. And so she's living in fear that her daughter will be humiliated in this way by this monster who then takes the $20,000 from her, takes it. Like that's a kind of sadism that is so, I mean, he is psychologically such a sick guy. And, I heard your coverage of it earlier this week, like whether or not he's found guilty, he's done. He's done.
He better be. I mean, I feel like you and I will do our level best to make sure that's the case. He's been a serial bully for the people who work for him, for the women he dates. And the mother, she's only on the stand for 30 minutes, but that she told that story. And then once she gives it to him, she's had to remortgage her house. She gets the $20,000, she gives it to him. A couple days pass, he gives it back. Oh, right. I guess he had like an attack of conscience. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be harassing my girlfriend's mother for money she doesn't have. But I think he does enjoy the exercise of just making people subjugate themselves to him and seeing, especially with women, how much he can demean them and demoralize them. There's been testimony this week that he sat next to Cassie on a plane, and I can't remember whether it must have been a private jet, but I thought they were saying it was a public jet. There were certainly other people around, and he made her look at video he had taken of one of the freak-offs, and he threatened her, saying he would release it. Like he was ready to use this and publicly humiliate her if she didn't do what he wanted. So on the one hand, you have that stuff, and you have the video of the beating, and you have had multiple witnesses testify about seeing him beat her. Her friend got on the stand and testified to that. She just had a makeup artist get on the stand and say she saw her after he had beaten her with knots all over her head, a fat lip, a black eye. The makeup artist tried to help her. The assistant to Sean Diddy Combs saying I had to quit because I couldn't take the beatings. Cassie only testified to a few of these. She said it happened regularly, but the prosecution didn't even bring out every beating. It was like all these other people who remember, oh no, there was this beating and that beating and another beating. And what the defense is trying to hang its hat onto is there's testimony from her saying, why didn't you leave? And yes, she did testify. I felt threatened and so on. I was afraid of him. But also she testified and admitted she loved him and she did enjoy the lifestyle.
Yeah.
She liked the cars and she liked the homes.
Yeah.
And the defense is going to try to drive a truck through that.
Yeah.
They put on Kid Cudi yesterday, this rapper.
Yeah.
And separate and apart from the arson charge that he's trying to build, they're trying to build with him. He painted Cassie as not all that great because he suggested she was dating him while lying about the fact that she had left Diddy when she hadn't. And he used the word played. She played me.
Right.
She played me and she played him.
Right.
And the defense too is they're going to try to paint her as like this manipulative, strong, there of her own volition. She loved the car. She loved the lavish lifestyle. She could have left at any time. She arranged the freak off. She called the sex workers. And I just think, yes, that's what they have to argue. But if you look at the greater context of the proof going in on that case, Maureen, it's just so clear that there was an overlying control that he had of her almost from the very beginning.
I think there's no question about that. As for Kid Cudi, it's sort of like, she played me. Okay, well, you're a grown man, and you're in like a very flashy, fast-moving industry. I'm sure she wasn't like your one and only. Sorry, okay? And then the testimony he gave about Sean Combs blowing up his Porsche.
This is crazy. Remember when you and I talked about this? It was just a rumor. She had made an allegation in her complaint, her civil complaint, which he settled the next day. But we didn't know if it was true. And now you've got the actual singer, Kid Cudi, on the stand. Go ahead.
So months later, they have a summit, Diddy and Cudi, okay? The summit was at the Soho House in LA, okay?
Where everyone has their big summits.
After you blow up my luxury vehicle, let's meet for a cocktail at the Soho House.
Let's
talk this out like in an elegant way.
Are going soon.
So how bad is it? How bad is it? Now, I believe that the prosecution is putting on a witness, much as the prosecution did in the Harvey case, round one, which went to speaking to how victims of sexual violence or domestic violence often are in love with their abuser.
They did. They put on a woman who testified in a few of these cases. She was a witness in Amber versus Johnny, and maybe the Weinstein. I can't remember the second case. But she testified just in general. She hadn't examined Diddy, but she was testifying to that dynamic in domestic abuse relationships.
And I'll never forget the details in Cassie's lawsuit, her civil filing against Diddy, which went to, there were two incredibly violent things. One, he had her get breast implants in LA.
Oh, that's right.
And the day after, he was like, I don't like the way these look. And he took her back to the surgeon and said, remove them and put in different ones. And the surgeon said, I can't. She needs to heal first. And this surgeon then said, Diddy made him fear for his life. And he did it. He did it. And then the other one was after they left some awards event, he began stomping her face in the back of an SUV, and the driver/bodyguard tried to intervene. And Diddy was like, basically, if I recall correctly, I'll kill you if you don't back off. This is my woman, and I'll do what I want with her.
That was one of the rare times someone tried to intervene, because what we've seen these past 2 weeks is people under his employ or under his thumb not intervening and feeling really bad about it, feeling disgusted with themselves for allowing it to happen. But I think they all knew, they were afraid of him.
I think so too.
They didn't know what he was capable of.
I think they knew what he was capable of.
Right. That's the better question.
Yeah. What was he capable of? I mean, I think, from a legal aspect, I'm really interested in your thoughts because, what I love is that the prosecution has video and you can't lie your way out of video. Okay. And the jury seeing those still photos of the freak offs and two members at least visibly recoiled. And it takes a lot for a New York jury to be disgusted.
It's true.
What do you think the prosecution is building towards? Do you think they are building towards interstate sex trafficking? Because other than that, yes, he's disgusting, but he's not on trial for domestic violence.
Well, so it's complicated. I think they've got him on the transportation to engage in prostitution count. That's the third count. It's only got a year's penalty, but he's got multiple potential offenses on it. But it's the least serious of the charges brought against him. They've had so much testimony that he did pay prostitutes. She was calling, what was it called? Cowboys for angels. There's some, Maureen, we are not living a big life, okay? There's
As
a lot.
I said, like I just love one invitation to a sex party, just one.
Well, we went to space and we did fake Meghan Markle life.
True.
Maybe next we need to make a phone call to Cowboys for Angels and see who shows up. Maybe we'll meet him.
Punisher.
So anyway, they've proven beyond a doubt that he was engaging in, hiring and transporting prostitutes. But you've got sex trafficking by fraud or coercion is the middle count. Mm-hmm. And originally I thought that the sex trafficking involved the prostitute and the coercion involved Cassie. Like he was kind of forcing Cassie to be in this room, and no question there was a sex worker in there. Mm-hmm. But I've since come to understand from sources close to the case, that's not it. That it's Cassie who's been sex trafficked in the theory of the prosecutors.
Okay.
That they are arguing he by coercion or fraud, et cetera, but I think they're going with coercion, forced her to engage in these freak-offs. Not every single time.
Right, of course.
But many, many times. And even during certain times on like the back end. Maybe she was there voluntarily in the front end. But then, but overall, I think they're going to argue that right after the beginning of the relationship, things switched to a place where she did not want to be doing this. And she was only there because she was afraid of him, or he was threatening her, or she knew she was going to be publicly humiliated by the tapes getting released, or he was going to beat her again. And so they're arguing he was forcing her to sex traffic herself in these freak-offs. That's the theory. And they're doing a pretty good job. They're doing an excellent job, to be honest. The defense to it is her voluntarily calling the sex workers, and I use that term in quotes, voluntarily, was it or wasn't it? The jury will have to decide. Her texts saying, I can't wait to freak off again. But again, there's another text saying, I can't wait to freak off. It's great. I love the freak offs when we both want them.
Oh, she said that.
Yep.
Interesting. And you also have to wonder, like, at what point is she just trying to placate him, right? I love the freak offs. Like, does she? It's like putting an emoji at the end of something and you're just like, whatever. But, the other thing is she got with him, I think she was 19 and he was maybe 30, very well established, immediately a power dynamic right there. He's bringing her into this world. There was that little bit of testimony that I thought was really salient, that he brought Britney Spears to her birthday party when they first were dating. That was like a flex. He at one point made her shave her head. There are images of her with like half of her head shaved. And she's such a beautiful woman. It doesn't impede her beauty at all. But I think it was a way of him trying to strip her of that power she had, her own beauty. And then the other thing we were reminded of this week was Wendy Williams saying long ago, everyone in the hip hop community knows Sean Combs is gay. Makes sense. This is what he thinks of women. He's such a misogynist. He beats the shit out of them on the regular. And that he tried to have her fired, or successfully had her fired from a gig. And I mean, that's the kind of level of power he was trying to execute all over the place, like trying to take somebody's livelihood because, do
we have that soundbite? I thought we pulled that Wendy Williams thing because she got fired from her job for making a comment. Oh, we do. Oh, yeah. She was working for Hot 97. Just want to clarify. My team's saying that the prostitution charge has a 10-year potential sentence. I got to go back and look at that because I remember looking at this and seeing it was 1. In any event, 1 to 10, let's say. And he's 18 years older than she is. So she was a kid, 19.
Oh, he's 18 years older. Yeah. Oh, that's significant.
And when he met her at 19, he was almost twice her age. I mean, like, that's ridiculous, not to mention one of the most powerful rich men in music and in the country. All right, so here's Wendy Williams. This is back in 1998 in the call that got her fired from Hot 97, SOT 28.
I just want to know, do you really think that every player is gay, or every other player is? Are you a little gay obsessed, do you think?
I'm not gay obsessed, and every other would be an exaggeration, but I would say 2 out of 10.
Okay.
In sports, and 5 out of 10 in music.
Okay.
Yes, and I don't think that's gay obsessed. I think that's after being in this business for over 20-something years and seeing things from the inside out and the outside in.
So next thing she knows, she's fired. And then, again, that was 1998. And then she spoke to Howard Stern in 2006, and he brought it up. Watch this.
Did you get fired for making fun of Puffy?
Something like that.
Well, listen, you figure it out. You do the music of what was playing back in 1998 on the majority of every radio station 25 times an hour.
Okay, it's not a denial. And the last but not least, Diddy went on the Wendy Williams show in 2017. So now we're, many years after her firing, almost 20 years after her firing because of that comment. And he makes some comment about her son. Watch this.
As the mother of a now 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Who I met backstage. He
did?
He's a great young man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. You represent a lot.
You can see how awkward she is as soon as she hears they met. And he's now got a visual on the son. And I would submit to you, Wendy Williams was concerned to hear that the two of them had an exchange backstage.
Well, I think that clip is really interesting because it takes a lot to trip Wendy Williams up. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a woman who would get on TV 5 days a week, much as you do, and speak extemporaneously, And this is her world. She's been in it forever. And Sean Combs, you can tell my opinion, that she's taking that as a not so thinly veiled threat, okay? You've got your life back now. You've got your job back now. I allowed that for you. Oh, your 16-year-old son is backstage? You can't tell me she didn't know the stories about Usher, a 14-year-old Usher who's fed to him for at least a year in that townhouse, who later told Rolling Stone that he would walk around that townhouse and peek through bedroom doors that were left open and see orgies happening. The depravity. And you can't, we're all watching Justin Bieber decline before our very eyes. And, he issued a statement, or his people issued a statement this week that said he is not a victim. Please leave him alone. But, I think we're all looking at what seems to be the severity of the collateral damage. And, we'll see what else comes out. When stuff like this happens and people begin, I'm amazed that Cassie feels emboldened enough at like nearly 9 months pregnant, knowing this guy. The feds he tried to get bail 3 times and every judge said no, he is a danger to potential witnesses.
I mean, and she's the star witness. It must have been important to her because any woman knows that, 2 weeks from delivery, you're feeling emotional. You're worried about your baby. You don't want that amount of cortisol running through your body, when you're about to give birth to another human. And yet she got herself up there. And the prosecution knew that she was about to have this kid and that it would be a much different story. She probably wouldn't do it after he or she is born.
Right.
So they got her on the stand. A word about Bieber, and through no particular source, but I will say that a source with knowledge of Bieber has suggested to us recently that he may have other issues that are causing the public meltdown now, having nothing to do with Diddy. And they did put out that statement saying he's not one of Diddy's victims. Now, I wouldn't expect them to say he is one. So take it for whatever it's worth. But it may be that Justin Bieber's got problems with other people that are causing what we're seeing on camera. Bottom line for me is don't let your kid become a child star.
100%.
Doesn't matter how much money you think you can get. And doesn't matter how happy you think it will make them. It won't. It won't. Might make them temporarily happy. They're a star. They feel cool. They all crash and burn. All crash and burn. I mean, think of it. There's like maybe one example, maybe
Jodie
two.
Foster, maybe.
Yeah, if you really search to try to find somebody. But the vast majority, even if they wind up okay in the long run, like a Drew Barrymore, go through the Drew Barrymore addict stage where the mother's taking them to parties and they're taking drugs at age 8 or whatever her story is. It's just not, it's not worth it. Wanted to go back to the Kid Cudi testimony because it was very interesting. I do want to correct something on the morning update today. Rare mistake. We said that Kid Cudi took the stand on Wednesday, and in fact, he took the stand on Thursday, just a clarification. Here's what he testified to. He said he met Ventura in 2008 and they were just friends. They started dating around 2011. He thought that they were having problems, Ventura and Combs, by 2011, that they weren't dating anymore. And Combs told Kid Cudi by phone in December 2011 that he wanted to talk to him because he understood there might be something going on with Diddy's girl and Kid Cudi. And so he said he left the hotel he was at with Ventura and went home to his house, Kid Cudi's house. And he found that there had been a break-in. Directly following the phone call, Kid Cudi returned home. Combs was not there, however, but he found his security cameras had been moved, gifts he bought for his family had been opened, and his dog was locked in the bathroom, which he testified was disturbing to him. After the break-in, Kid Cudi spent the holidays with Ventura's family and received a few texts from Combs, but the rapper was not interested in talking to him, citing that he believed Combs was responsible for the break-in, said Kid Cudi, noting that he filed a police report over it. So he was concerned, right? He definitely thought he was being harassed by Sean Diddy Combs over this blossoming relationship with Cassie Ventura. Then this was, December 2011. In 2011, January 2012, Kid Cudi said his dog watcher called him from his home to tell him his car was on fire.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, right? I mean, that last time we had that argument over space, next thing I knew, my Beamer was gone.
I don't know anything about it.
Looking at the photos, Kid Cudi explained, it looked, quote, like the top of my Porsche was cut open and that's where the Molotov cocktail was put in, causing further damage that could not be salvaged. Combs and Kid Cudi then met in person. Oh, look, this is the picture for the listening audience.
Oh, my God.
We're looking at his Porsche, which does not look like a Porsche. I don't even know what that is. I guess that's the top. Is that the soft top of his Porsche?
I can't tell if it's a hard top or not.
I have no idea, but it no longer looks like a car. Oh, that's the seat. Oh, look, that's like the seat that's been on fire.
That looks like a hard top. It looks like
That
shattered
looks like
glass.
a hard top that's been ripped open, and I guess a Molotov cocktail dropped in. So this is the apex of the testimony here. He says, finally, he asked him for a meeting. He said, I figured I better talk to him. Things were escalating. And clearly this guy who is like kind of badass in his own right was afraid of Sean Combs because he didn't know what he was capable of. But to your point, or did he? He said Kid Cudi arrived to his meeting, who was with him, and Combs was alone. He said, quote, Combs was standing there staring out the window at this Soho house, staring out the window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. And the pair went on to discuss Kid Cudi's relationship with Ventura from start to finish, he testified. When Kid Cudi asked Combs about the damage to his car, Combs said, I don't know what you're talking about. Kid Cudi didn't believe him. They ran into each other years later, 2015, so 3 years later at a club. Combs pulled Kid Cudi aside, and Kid Cudi said Combs apologized to him. Kid Cudi added he found peace with the situation after that. Kid Cudi did testify that Cassie Ventura told him there was physical abuse in her relationship with Combs, that he would sometimes hit and kick her, which bothered Kid Cudi, but he did not hear about any sexual abuse. But there it is, looking like a Marvel supervillain, which, by the way, there was no objection to, which I would have objected to had I been
Interesting.
Yeah, Sean's lawyer. But that image is now it's seared, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
With the hands behind the back, you can picture it.
Oh, yeah. And I actually would never have assumed that Combs was alone. He may have been standing alone, but I would assume he's got guys all over that room or like cameras all over that room. My other question, so first of all, I was talking to the Daily Mail reporter who's in that courtroom every day. And when the apology came up, I said, well, did Sean Combs offer to pay him back? No. Class does not exist with this guy on any level. You know, I'm sorry I blew up your car, but I'm not going to give you the money. Okay.
Right.
But, you know, the other thing is sort of like, the Kid Cudi stuff is just remarkable to me. Again, I can't believe this guy is testifying. I can't believe he's not afraid. And I can't believe that, like, Usher's name came in this week. I think there are many other people who are very worried about their names coming in. You know, I go back to this LeBron video that was a Zoom between him and Diddy. And Diddy's on the top panel and LeBron's on the bottom. And LeBron is saying, ain't no party like a Diddy party. And they're all laughing. You know, the amount of people who knew, and, you know, to your point, the last time we talked about it, like, perhaps it's just normalized in that world. Like, it's a sex party, it's a sex and drug party, and stuff gets crazy, and that's it. But I find it hard to believe, like, the way Wendy Williams blanched, He just said, "Oh, I met your kid backstage," and she,
No, it would be terrifying.
yeah.
I mean, I remember interviewing Vladimir Putin, and it was getting tense between us, and he mentioned my children.
What?
Yeah. And I remember like, okay, I see what's happening here. I mean, this is what people do. It's like an implicit threat. It's just letting you know they're aware of what's important to you. And that's all. That's all it takes. You don't have to be more explicit than that. And it's one thing, LeBron, to know about sex parties. It's quite another to know about beatings, regular beatings, which are illegal. That is a sex party isn't necessarily illegal. It is technically if you hire sex workers and if you're allegedly trafficking the other participant. But there's no question that repeated beatings, that's a battery, it's an assault. It can be a lot more. And everybody in the Diddy circle looked the other way. And very few, if any, intervened to help her. They allowed it. Here's the next guy, George Kaplan, former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs. He, prior to testifying and without the jury present, invoked his Fifth Amendment.
Whoa.
He was like, I'm not saying anything because I will be incriminated. And the prosecution offered him an immunity deal, which he then took. The judge watched him sign it. And once you sign an immunity deal, you can no longer assert the Fifth Amendment. So he was forced to take the stand. The jury didn't know he had signed that. I think they thought he was just there voluntarily. And he testified about 3 instances where he witnessed violence from Sean Combs. Twice with Cassie Ventura in 2015 on Combs's private jet. And then another incident later in the year where he said he saw Ventura with visible injuries at one of Combs's homes. He testified to witnessing yet another round of violent behavior where he saw Combs throw a number of decorative or real, he wasn't sure which, green apples at another girlfriend, hard, he said, like really trying to whip her with them. He was unsure if any of them actually hit the woman, but it wasn't for lack of trying. He said he was the guy during his period of employment where he had to go clean up the hotel rooms after Combs was in there. He was worried that hotel staff would try to sell content from his room to the magazines to try to make money. He gave notice he was leaving in September 15 and finally left in December of 2015, saying, quote, "The central reason that I left my job as Mr. Combs' assistant was that I was not comfortable or aligned with the physical behavior that had been going on that I had seen pieces of over the course of a couple of months." And then there's Mila Morales, former makeup artist for Combs and Ventura, who said when she first met Cassie was 16. She was so young. This is 3 years before she was introduced to Diddy. And she was doing her makeup regularly when she signed with Bad Boy Records, his label, in 2007. And she was like a younger sister to Maya. She witnessed after a party at Prince's house, Ventura and Morales, the makeup artist, went back to a hotel room. This was around Grammy weekend 2010. And Combs made his way to the room where Ventura was, closed the door behind him, and yelling and screaming ensued. Morales said when Combs stormed out, Ventura was distraught with a swollen eye, a busted lip, and knots on her head. The makeup artist took Ventura to her home where she stayed for a few days. Morales did not call the police because she feared Combs and she feared for her life. She had a doctor friend look at Ventura who said she needed to go to the emergency room. Ventura refused. The pair never spoke of the incident again. And there was testimony by another witness that she saw Combs try to hit Ventura with a cast iron skillet that she was making eggs in. And then he whipped I don't think I'm conflating my two. There's been so much evidence of abuse, but I think this is the one woman's testimony. He tried to whip a wooden hanger at her head. And then the next thing she knew, Cassie asked to see her. They had lunch together, and Cassie had $30,000 for her in a non-disclosure agreement and said, just, you're making too big a deal out of it. And the woman signed the NDA, and the friendship ended with Cassie because the woman just couldn't take the amount of abuse Cassie was getting, and now she'd been dragged into it. I mean, that's what people like. Look, people who just want to run cover for Diddy are focusing on the testimony that I've mentioned, you know, that she has emails suggesting she wanted the freak-offs from time to time. She testified the lifestyle was important to her and she didn't want to leave it. And there was some strain of materialism in her. She, quote, played Kid Cudi and Diddy, which the defense is going to try to say, what kind? She's empowered. What victim who's feeling controlled would cheat on the abuser and be controlling another man? That's where But there is a tidal wave of evidence that he was abusing her. Everyone saw it over years. We've covered the whole gamut. This is 15 of this abuse, the 16 intercontinental issue, the 2011 and 2012 stuff, Kid Cudi, and it went on for years. And this clearly was not an empowered woman who felt comfortable dealing with him from any position of power.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think one of the things we're coming to terms with as a culture, and we're really maturing in terms of understanding the nuances of victims of domestic violence, is that there is no perfect victim. There is no there is no perfect victim, and the level, the violence with which he assaulted her, going for the head so often. He was trying to disfigure her. He was trying to mar her beauty, and that video that we all saw of him kicking her in that hotel elevator bank / hallway. That to me is a woman who's been there so many times before. She went limp. She was like a possum. She went she shaped herself like a C to cover her internal organs. She was just going to take it as best as she could. I don't know if it becomes kidnapping once she's trying to leave. Okay, great.
It does. Him dragging her down the hall and putting her back in that hotel room is kidnapping right there.
Good. I thought so. And then you're not telling me that he's done this to her and there aren't a legion of women out there he's also done this to. Because guys like this don't do it to just one person. And that says to me, there are many women out there who are still far too afraid of Diddy to file a civil suit or to raise their hand and say, if you want me, prosecution, I'll testify,
Well, think about one of the testimonials this week was from the agent who conducted the raid on his Miami home. 2 of his homes were raided. And of course, it was tons of baby oil and tons of lube.
Don't forget the AR-15s.
Well, that's where I was going. And so the guns, he found parts of guns disassembled. He found a fully intact gun in his security shack. And the Diddy cross-examination was basically, you realize he's one of the most well-known figures in the world and people want to kill him. And yes, of course, he would have an armed security guard around him. But let's not pretend Diddy is not a violent man. For the record, he denies these charges. But he's a violent man. We saw that on that tape. That's why the fact that it is on tape and the jury has seen the level of depravity that this man has when it comes to treating a fellow human being, a woman who's half his size and half his weight and totally powerless to stop him, is so important. We don't have to wonder.
Right.
He did it.
Right.
We saw it. He started beating her shortly after they got together in 2007. That's what the proof has been. And all the way through, the videotape that we watched is 2016. That's almost 10 years later. Who that's empowered, who that has any sort of equality, never mind equal strength in the relationship, stays for 9 years of beatings. I don't think they actually broke up until 2018.
I mean, if you even just think about the humiliation that's involved and how regularly Sean Combs had been beating Cassie in front of other people, that he thought nothing of beating her in a public space. Those elevators could have opened at any time. When that security guard shows up on that new footage that we've just seen, and I was listening to you talk about, because I didn't realize this, and it was so enlightening. That's enough. So I'm like, okay, so a third party saw this, and what happened? What happened? Mm-hmm. And I believe it was the same security guy who was told, we don't do anything about this. Mm-hmm. And he took video on his own phone of the video because he kind of knew it would disappear.
He said he was going to show it to his wife, that he was going home on a Friday, and he wanted to show it to his wife. And it was a good thing, because by Monday when he got back to work, it was gone. The original was gone. Mm-hmm. And thank God he did tape that, I mean, we never found out who was the source of the CNN leak. That's how we came to know that tape. Mm-hmm. CNN got their hands on it and aired it. And it was a game changer in the narrative around Diddy. But one presumes he got it from this guy. I mean, I don't know. But where else did it come from? It didn't come from Diddy. We know that. But thank God he got it, because we don't have to wonder what kind of a man he is now. We don't have to wonder whether this is an Amber Heard, Johnny Depp situation. Right. We know what kind of a man he is. And the evidence is overwhelming. And by the way, a source close to the case told me that it's not going to come down to Cassie, because there's so much corroborating evidence that he was a serial abuser, bully, kingpin of what looked like a crime ring all around his desire to do drugs, to use illegal prostitutes to run these freak-offs, and to bully, and another word is sex traffic, his so-called love into being the star of his ill-conceived sex romps, by threatening her mom, by extorting her mom, by blowing up the cars of anybody she dared try to get away from him with. And by the way, to prove RICO, back to the discussion of the elements and the crimes, so we discussed coercion, like sex trafficking by coercion, but the big claim against him, count number 1, is RICO, racketeering. And for that, you have to show 2 underlying predicate acts, they're called. It's 2 underlying crimes that your so-called mob boss or crime boss has committed or ordered committed in the context of this big crime organization you're accusing him of running. And typically it's used against crime bosses, but it's been used now in these more lurid sex cases too, like R. Kelly. And there are many crimes you can show, but bribery, like offering that security guard $100,000 to kill that tape. They've got testimony to prove bribery. Kidnapping, we watch that on tape.
Right.
Assault, we watch that on tape. Obstruction of justice, there's been evidence of that too. I mean, just if you paid to have that tape destroyed,
right?
Another hotel worker. Arson, that was one of the ones alleged by the prosecution. And yesterday, his defenders were pointing out that Kid Cudi didn't say Diddy admitted it. Well, right, but there's something called circumstantial proof in a case, and we've now had Cassie testify that Diddy did it. And did he do it? Did he did it? and we've then had Kid Cudi take the stand to say he threatened me.
Right.
I went home immediately. I believe he had messed with my home, and this is why I believe it. And I made a police report at the time. He threatened me again. Then my car was destroyed. I had a meeting with him. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. But then 3 years later, he apologized to me for some unspecified sin. I mean, that's enough for a jury to say, I believe he did it. I'm convinced.
You know what would be enough for me as a juror? The dog. You fucked with somebody's dog.
Yeah.
You terrified a dog, like you're garbage. And the other thing about the Cassie stuff is, the idea that it's implausible at best to believe that there aren't other female victims out there. There's always been, so Al B. Shore, who is sort of a rapper who is involved in this because he was involved with Kim Porter, Diddy's ex, who had several children with him, has a book coming out in September. And there's always been speculation that Kim Porter's premature death at like 35 or 45 from pneumonia was extremely suspicious. Like a lot of eyebrows in the hip hop community have been raised.
I am extremely suspicious of it. I don't understand it. She's very young. It just so happens that the woman who is the mother to his children winds up dead at a very young age of an illness that doesn't normally kill 35 or 36-year-olds.
Exactly.
I'd like to know more.
I would too.
And, there's the whole Tupac and Biggie Smalls, those, I don't know I'm not saying he necessarily committed those, but there's been a lot of speculation about what role, if any, he had in those too.
Absolutely. It's no accident that after Biggie's death, and Diddy back then was going by Puffy, and he was always sort of the sidekick, the producer, trying to get in the frame as the star. Once Biggie died, who becomes the torchbearer? It's Diddy. Who becomes the new hip hop star? It's Diddy. Who begins like cannibalizing what little is left of the existing Biggie Smalls recordings? It's Diddy. And he made his bones on the back of a far more talented rapper. He just did. And I believe Biggie Smalls' mother died within the past year or two. But I think she always had questions about that.
The level of wealth with these music moguls dwarfs almost everything. I mean, you think you're rich, like you think Julia Roberts is rich,
right?
For her $20, $25 million a film. She doesn't hold a candle to the Diddys of the world. Like, you want to make serious FU money, you either run a hedge fund or you become a music mogul. You're talking like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, especially if you run the label, if you're not just the talent.
Right.
Like, it's those people who sign other people that make all the money. In fact, there was testimony from one of the gals who was part of this music group, Danity Kane.
Yes.
She took the stand and talked about the same thing, how, forgive me because I don't want to screw it up, but I think she was one of the ones who testified how he was abusive and she witnessed it. There have been so many that I'm starting to lose track. I mean, there have been multiple women now talking about having witnessed his abuse or experienced it firsthand. But she also talked about how they didn't make any money. Like, he makes the money. Mm-hmm. And this is a pattern in music. By the way, we'll wait to see whether that has any bearing on what Justin Bieber's going through. Because he's had that manager, Scooter Braun, that Taylor Swift had, that she had the big dispute with. That's kind of an interesting question. But it's a pattern. It's a very exploitative industry, especially amongst those who own the record labels or who are the producers. And I just think like the mega FU money and the lifestyle and the trappings and the private jet and the huge estates and flying off to Jamaica or whatever, tropical island he kept taking everybody to, not to mention Epstein, similar pattern.
Right.
People get intoxicated just at the whiff of it, Maureen, just at the whiff of it. And it explains to some extent, their willingness to look the other way. That plus he was a threatening guy.
The last time we were talking about this, and you made a really great point that the kind of fame, first of all, the music industry is like the film industry. It can be incredibly predatory because you are dealing with people. The biggest sample size of the wannabes are the people who would give an organ for it. Okay, they want it at no matter the cost. And but you said something about the kind of charisma and star power that is unique to a famous musician, a live performer. And they're becoming more and more rare just because of the way the music industry is sort of, atomized.
Auto-tune, yeah.
Yeah, and like the way they come up now, like they don't come up the way they used to. And so the huge, huge stars like a Diddy, who will now be in ruination for the rest of his life. But, I remember being like back when I worked at MTV as like a baby, being at like this after party at like a very small New York City downtown club, and the room in the back that was like the quote VIP, very, very small. And he walked in, and when I tell you the gravitational pull in that room shifted, I mean, you could feel it before you even saw who came in. There is something about them that is just, I don't know if it's because they perform live and they develop a connection with like an organism of 100,000 people in a stadium. That is a unique gift.
Or Lady Gaga just had, was it 2 million people in London? It was 1 or 2 million people at a free concert. That's larger than life.
100%. And to make every person in that arena feel a connection with you, that's power. That's power. Mm-hmm. And you can see when in thinking about how depraved Diddy became, this was always my question with Harvey in the beginning. And I would ask every guy I knew, like, he could have anybody he wants for the most part, favor trade, whatever. Why rape? Why violence?
Yeah.
And they would say, your baseline level of you start topping out and you need more. You need more and more depravity to get a dopamine hit.
He needed to feel dirty. That's what got him off.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, like, in a weird way, I understand the dynamic just because, I've told the story about Roger Ailes and yours truly before, but it's very different, but in some ways similar. And just in that you have this hugely powerful boss, hugely powerful person overseeing your career who is clearly trying to make, sex with you the stakes for your advancement. Mm-hmm. And unlike these women, a lot of them, I had a very strong family background. I had an intact family. I lost my dad at a young age, but his imprint was already very secure on me and my id was very strong. And I couldn't be manipulated like that. Like I knew very clearly I was never going to do that. But the music industry preys on people who are vulnerable. I think generally people who are determined to become stars in music or acting are probably very damaged as a rule.
Yeah.
And they're working something out.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why they think they're going to get fulfilled by becoming a star and doing this thing. Yeah. A lot of very talented people choose not to go into those industries because they're too healthy.
Yeah.
And so they're ripe for the advantage taking. And that's why it's one of the interesting things about the fact that the music industry never had its moment in the Me Too movement. It really never came under the microscope the way Hollywood did, the way news did. No one talked about like what happened backstage at Rolling Stones concerts or, at a Diddy concert or at a Kanye concert. All right, I got to take a break. There's so much more to discuss. Maureen's here for the whole show. Isn't it great to have her? Stand by, and don't forget during this break, go and subscribe to The Nerve with Maureen Callahan wherever you get your podcast, and go to sign up on YouTube as well. This July, there is a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. The bloc of emerging superpowers, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the US dollar as the global currency. They're calling this the Rio Reset. As BRICS nations push forward with their plans, some worry global demand for US dollars will decrease, bringing down the value of the dollars in your savings. While this transition, if it happens, would not happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the Rio Reset. Text MK to the number 989898 today. Maureen has decided with her listeners and viewers to name her followers the troublemakers. I heard that and I approve.
Well, I'm glad that you do. They all also helped come up with the name. There was a lot of discussion, very lively, and it was really fun. And they all like it. And, it's like this show is so much fun on so many levels. And it's so much fun to do it. And it's the same thing when I'm with you. Like every time I come on your show, we finish a conversation and I'm like, that was an hour. It feels like 15 minutes.
Yep.
And it feels the same way doing The Nerve. It feels like 15 minutes. And if I just want 15 more and 15,
I've gotten so many nice notes from people saying, basically, you've changed my listening and viewing habits of news now. Like they're listening to you, they're listening to Halpern, they're listening to Link. And like, these are new voices who they only heard occasionally, who they're now addicted to. I don't think he'll mind me saying, but Glenn Greenwald sent me a note saying, thank you for introducing me to this wonderful creature about you. Oh my God. He loves the show.
Oh,
it
what
just
a
goes to show you, even people who are totally hard-nosed news people can, we all need an escape and some fun and like some salacious gossip every once in a while.
100%. And my favorite feedback, which is so truly humbling, is like people who write and say, I moved to a new town and I feel lonely. I don't have friends, but I tune into your channel and I look at you talking to me. It's like a FaceTime with a friend. Oh. It's like that kind of stuff where it's like, it just feels very communal and like we're all seeing the same thing. And we're all like now just being able to say like, yeah, this is all nuts. This is all nuts.
When I watch the show, I constantly find myself saying my daughter's favorite word, which is real. that's what the kids say now when you say something that's true. Real. And we pulled a clip from The Nerve, the latest show, and I said it after this. Here's Maureen talking about all the lies that Hollywood's most beautiful women tell us about how it was just an effortless course to such beauty. And this one is about Jennifer Aniston. Here it is.
Jennifer Aniston, one of the most beloved celebrities in the country. She does it too. She lies about it. From an InStyle magazine article in 2024. Oh, Jen, she just drinks a lot of water and she gets a lot of rest and she eats really well. She eats really clean. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys firsthand that I know a doctor who recently worked with somebody very close to Jennifer Aniston. That Jennifer Aniston recently had what is called a bilateral, what's it called? It's a bilateral lower facelift. So they go in with cameras on both sides, under the cheekbones, and they go in and they just lift here. And what it winds up doing is it winds up stretching the mouth out like that, and you can't reverse it. And it's a bad procedure to have done, no matter who you are, no matter what your bone structure is, because it's not working with the rest of the face.
We have to try that. Hold on a second. Does it look good? How do I
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, it never looked better.
Also, people are getting their top lip flipped up. They're getting their lip flipped up. It's like the attempt to do the Kylie Kardashian big lip, but without huge injections, and it looks terrible. Don't mess with your lips.
No, especially the space between your nose and
Kylie Jenner.
Lauren Sanchez.
Oh.
Lauren Sanchez.
I don't know. She needs to step away. Step away from the needles.
There was a picture of her in Paris that was published recently that was horrifying because it gets to the point where they do so much pulling and stretching and filler and Botox. Like I feel like they lose any sort of tissue and you just see skin on bone.
Well, and then you know what you get, not to be cruel, but like you get some weird bumpiness. Have you seen it? Like there's some weird bumpiness that it's almost like the tell. I think that they've had a facelift or I don't know, is that filler left over? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is, but my doctor friend who can diagnose this stuff a mile away is always sort of like that. So that thing that Jen Aniston had, she said allegedly had, is not reversible. There's no doctor you can go to now. Allegedly, remember when Demi Moore did that?
It was horrifying.
And her face was like
it was like for Balenciaga or something like that.
Yes, and she looked like an alien, like her cheek. So my doctor friend told me, I thought that was misdone filler. It was a botched facelift. And she said everybody in their community knows the doctor in New York City, allegedly, who did that to her, and knows the doctor in New York City, allegedly, who fixed it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd have to. I can't believe she went out and about in the world with that terrible facelift. I mean, it looked awful. I don't know. I think Demi Moore is probably like kind of addicted to all the plastic surgeries because there have been so many reports about like doing the arms and doing the legs and doing like the crotch and like you can get all the, I mean, not crotch specifically, but you remember when she came out, was it for G.I. Jane or whatever, but she kind of had a resurgence after a low period in her career and she looked, 15 years younger.
Yes.
And there were all these reports, which she denied, they never confirmed them, that she'd had everything operated on, like hikes in the arms and hikes in the legs and hikes in, I don't know. A friend of mine had the leg lifted, like the leg, so that the knees don't look old. And she said, don't get that because she laughingly said, I've got such bad scars now on like my bikini line that I can never, ever leave my husband.
Oh my God. Or like wear a bathing suit that doesn't have like a matronly skirt.
Right. Or like the boy shorts now only, I guess.
Oh my God.
She's very open about what she's had done and she had me in hysterics talking about this.
Oh my God.
But anyway, this nonsense of it's just my water, that is a bridge too far.
I love it. And in that segment, I closed with my favorite example of recent years, which was Giselle Bündchen in a burqa outside her, a head to toe burqa outside her plastic surgeon's office in Paris.
Yes.
Okay. And then 5 years later, she issues all these like cookbooks and like, I'm so pure, everything's pure and I ride horses and it's just the sun and my athleticism and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's such a line of bullshit they sell to women and I hate it. It's designed to make us all feel terrible about ourselves.
That's right. And they won't own their own insecurities.
Well, they're
and
perfect.
Confess it. Right. They just born that way.
Born that way.
So on the knees, as you get older, of course, your skin does start to drape and the knees are a tell. And I recently saw a picture of Cindy Crawford and one of Melania Trump where they both have the knee like starting to sag. And I thought, thank God. It makes you feel better. I have it too. I did like 3 years ago have a laser tried out on my knee.
You can do that.
Yeah. My derm was like, yeah, we could try that. And I'm like, okay, sure. It hurt so badly. She gave me nitrous oxide while I had to go on laughing gas. It hurt like a mofo. It did make the knee look better. I'm not going to lie. But then it goes right back.
They can do amazing things with lasers these days.
Yeah.
I had a recent laser, I'm going to say maybe 6 months ago. And I was like, I have a pretty high pain tolerance. And this thing, this was killing me. It was killing me. I was like, they were like, well, next time we could give you Valium. I was like, you should have started with that.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
why did you hold out? See, that's what I love. I love the lasers and I recommend the lasers and I strongly oppose filler. You just look weird. It just makes you look weird. It doesn't make you look younger. By the way, there's no woman who's stuffed up with filler who you're like, oh, she's 30 when she's 50. Nobody thinks that.
No, and I think you have to go to a doctor. I love my derm because she's like, if you want something and I think it's too much or wrong for you, I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no again. And
That's
you
what
can go
you need.
to somebody else, because I do think you can, once you start, it's like when you're renovating a house, right? Once you start seeing what's wrong and got corrected, all you can see sometimes are imperfections, and your skin is like I'm like kind of in awe of like how you're, and I love that you're open about lasers and extensions and like all this stuff. Like,
yes.
I will say, well done filler. Like I have gotten filler under my eyes for maybe the past 5 years. And it can, if it's done well, it can really correct, like if you're beginning to feel like you're losing
a hollowed out
a
feeling.
little bit, but the side effect of it is that you don't really need concealer anymore.
Oh.
It gets rid of the dark circles.
Now you're talking me into it. Wait, does it hurt to get needles and that?
Not really, no. You just get numbed up. You just get numbed up. And you wait 30 minutes.
That's such
and
a
you have an
sensitive
artist.
area.
She's a genius.
Oh.
What can I say? Dr. Jessica Weiser in Soho.
Okay, very nice. She got the shout out. Well, I do love the lasers, and I've told the audience I try to get 2 Fraxels a year, once every 6 months. And honestly, I just had one. I just had one last week. You couldn't even tell. I was on the air. You couldn't tell that I was post Fraxel. You don't really have much downtime.
You don't
if you don't go like too crazy with it. And then in between the Fraxels, I'll have this little. It's called a Pico and a Clear and Brilliant from time to time.
What's a Pico?
It's nothing. I mean, it's a nothing burger. There's no downtime. It doesn't hurt. I don't even know really if it does anything, to be honest, but I do think these are the reasons that my skin stays looking good. And that way more than like filling in lines gives you, I think, a more youthful appearance.
Right.
And it's not invasive. You know, I'm never going to get that crazy ass, you're bloody faced for 10 weeks or a 1 month. I can't remember. But I remember it was the O2? Anyway, CO2 laser, where the doctor, I had a new derm and she was like, have you ever had that? And I'm like, no. And she goes, is that something you'd be interested in? And I was like, I don't know. Should I be? She goes, well, do you have young children? I'm like, well, I have children. Why? She was like, you basically couldn't see them for like 3 weeks.
So I'm sure you got it.
I'll come back when I'm 70. Yeah. Did not get it. So no, I only like the ones that there's really not a lot of downtime on. And they work great.
They do work great. And I also love, like my aging goals are women who age gracefully. Like, I don't know if you've watched Emily in Paris.
I don't know.
Okay, there's this older French actress who's on that show. She is so stylish and she is so cool. And she's so obviously in her mid-50s. She has lines. Her skin is kind of sagging, but she has so much confidence and so much style. You're just like, I want to be her.
Yes.
I want to be that person. I don't want to be the person who look like I came from a wind tunnel, when I'm like 60 years old. Like, I don't want that.
No. And like even Jane Fonda, it's like
I know,
too much.
I know.
I don't want to cut into my face when I'm 80.
No.
My God, I want to I'm watching this series, which I highly recommend, by the way. If you don't have BritBox, you can get it on Amazon Prime. And it's so fun. It's got British crime series, and Doug and I love that stuff. Yeah. So we just finished watching the pronoun I, comma, Jack Wright,
Okay.
Wright. So good. 6 episodes. I have to warn you, they do wind it up on episode 6, but not fully. So you don't have that everything is explained feeling, but didn't change my thorough enjoyment of every episode, notwithstanding that fact. And in it, one of the stars is, forgive me, I should remember her name. I think it's Gemma. Is it Gemma Jones? She starred in Sense and Sensibility as the mother of the 2 young women. And she starred in Bridget Jones' Diary.
Okay.
As Bridget Jones' mom. You'd know her in a heartbeat if you saw her. And she's an older woman now. She's, elderly. She looks great. She's beautiful. She's old. You're allowed to age in Great Britain in a way you're not here.
Yes.
And this is how I want to look when I am in my 80s, like a pretty 80-something-year-old who is old, but attractive.
There's an elegance in not doing that to yourself.
Yes.
It's a level. It shows a level of self-confidence, and it shows we all want to look. Most of us really want to look our best, but it also shows a sense of humility. Time comes for us all.
Yeah.
Age comes for us all.
Yeah.
And you could be Jane Fonda and you could go out in a wig, allegedly, and pull your face back, but you're still 80, 85, we all know that.
We all
know it.
Meanwhile, Doug and I were laughing because he only goes to the derm for skin cancer removal stuff, and he's so the opposite of me. He went and had whatever removed from his face, and they put a Band-Aid on his temple, and he went and did his show Dedicated with Doug Brunt with the side that had the Band-Aid on facing camera. I'm like, Doug.
I would never.
No, never. He has no vanity. He's like, oh, well. He's very different from me. Okay, let's keep going because there's so many good things in the news that I want to get to. We mentioned Lauren Sanchez. She posted, she didn't post. She was in the tabloids for this picture of Jeff Bezos smacking her thong-wearing bottom on their yacht. This is, I submit to you, a total setup with the paparazzi, because there's another one of her with her arms up, stretching, showing off the backside with the thong up the rear. She totally either knew they were there or set it up. And she's prancing around Paris. And here's some pictures of him smacking her bottom. Okay, you're young and virulent, Jeff Bezos. Look at this with her in the bottom, right? That is totally posed. And then you've got these pictures of her ridiculous bachelorette party, prancing around Paris. I've never seen Katy Perry look worse. She goes out, Katy Perry, she was caught by the tabloids walking out of her hotel with there's no bra on, Maureen. She's wearing I don't know what this getup is. It's like a leotard with pantyhose. It's almost like Bianca Censori-esque, where there's very little clothing.
Ooh.
Like the time, as you said, comes for us all.
Yeah.
And when you're past a certain age, you need a bra.
Yes.
Sorry, but you do.
Yes.
Especially if you've had children.
Yes.
Which I believe she has, because things are supposed to be pointing straight out, start to be pointing down.
Yes, yes.
And most of us will wear appropriate clothing so that we're not drawing too much attention to these issues. But Katy Perry seems to be going through a midlife crisis.
100%. These this is one of the few times I feel ashamed to be an American. These are Americans, vulgarians, parading through Paris. I read they went to a restaurant called Lafayette and they ordered a bunch of gross American food that was probably not on the menu. Just to call back to the Diddy thing, one of the most disgusting details to come out this week, he prefers his burgers with applesauce on them.
Ew.
I know.
Ew.
It's disgusting. Who came up with that?
That is not a thing.
For him it is.
Oh.
It's disgusting. But anyway, these two, that image of Bezos slapping, that reminded me of the Jenny from the Block video. Remember Ben Affleck on the boat slapping?
Oh my gosh.
And I think they're trying to reenact this thing. But my main theory about Lauren Sanchez is I think she is paying a very high price to become the next Mrs. Jeff Bezos. Mm-hmm. I do not think this is fun at all. I think she has to keep her body in a certain condition. Mm-hmm. I think she has to have a certain number of surgeries. I think she has to look a certain way. My opinion, it is Jeff Bezos's revenge of the nerds, small dude syndrome. I have a pneumatic sex doll.
Totally.
And I parade her around and she does what I want. And that visual right there, I'm smacking her bottom.
Isn't it a little
disgusting?
Kanye, Bianca-esque?
Yes, I think I agree with you 100%.
Kind of a couple parallels there. So speaking of our fellow astronauts, Gayle King is suffering some blowback from her trip to space. And not just in the form of Blonde Origin, which you must check out on our YouTube channel if you have not yet seen it. It is our full parody of the Blue Origin debacle and the moronic, narcissistic women who were on that ride. But in the news today is, I want to quote from it, is the fact that there's blowback against Gayle and others at CBS for that absurdity. Hold on a second. Was that in the AM update, you guys? Our real AM update? Oh, wait, this is I've got the wrong paper in front of me. Sorry, I have so many papers when I come to air that I sometimes screw it up. I'm going to find it. Oh, that's so many papers and so little time. Here, I think I found it. Okay. Yeah. Via the Daily Mail. Okay. First of all, CBS News is imploding.
Yes,
they fired Wendy McMahon, the president, the executive producer of CBS, of 60 Minutes, quit. Now there are rumors that both Gayle and Scott Pelley could be on the way out. There was a report the other day that Gayle was told they are not paying her $10 million salary anymore. She has no viewers. It's not worth it. And, she's not going to work for free, Maureen, for $7 million. These are the reports. But now there's this via the Daily Mail. Inside the vicious CBS News bloodbath where staff are fighting, crying, and resent Gayle King. Tensions are running particularly high about reports that CBS's parent company, Paramount, is preparing to slash $500 million in costs in preparation for the lucrative merger with Skydance Media, against the backdrop of a ratings freefall. And there might be more exits to come. Multiple sources told the Daily Mail that 60 Minutes host Scott Pelley could be on the way out. It's marquee name after marquee name. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. There are no marquee names there. People don't want to say it out loud in the office, but the entire space debacle really hurt us. Oh, did it? Said a 60 Minutes staffer. Gayle being part of that, not a good look for our brand. You know what? You should have listened to us because we could have told you that immediately. I think a lot of people resent Gayle for it. I know I do. But the most that's them, not me. But the most palpable impact appears to have been felt at 60 Minutes, where staff have compared the atmosphere to a sinking ship. The tension spilling out into the open with blazing rows in the office, over story coverage and petty squabbles concerning seating plans. Sources told the Daily Mail, fights and loud ones, said the insider. You can hear them in the halls. People are arguing over everything and anything, from big things like how to report stories to small things like who is sitting where in the conference room. So it's not going well.
It's not going well. I have 2 Scott Pelley observations, and then I'd like to say something about Gayle. Scott Pelley once assailed a Page 6 reporter who dared to talk to him. This is back when I was at the Post, on the red carpet. He was on a red carpet. He was doing interviews. I believe he had just been canned as anchor, nightly news anchor.
Yep.
And they had the temerity to ask him about that. And he fairly spat at them like, you wouldn't last 2 minutes inside the halls of CBS News. And I'm like, Scott Pelley wouldn't last 2 minutes inside the New York Post newsroom.
Oh, hell no.
I promise you, okay? And then my other thing about Scott Pelley is, he's on 60 Minutes now, and he's always talking like with lockjaw.
Yes,
and then
he does have a lockjaw.
He does this, and then he takes his glasses and he'll put them on like this, and then after he asks the question, he takes them off. And he writes it like this. It's like William Hurt in Broadcast News. Thank you. It's very cathartic to get that out. Very cathartic. And then, so Gayle, I feel like Gayle is to CBS News what Don Lemon was to CNN. And I knew Don Lemon was over before he began tanking. Do you remember that image of him on a red carpet during Fashion Week? It was right around COVID.
I'm sure I blocked it out.
He's on a red carpet. There are photographers like in a semicircle. He's standing there in like a $5,000 suit with like a $10,000 coat caped over him. And he's showing his hands like this and all the rings on his fingers.
Ew.
And I was like, this guy thinks he's a major star and CNN is the backdrop rather than you're the journalist and that is your outlet. And Gayle's right now in the same level of delusion. She's the star and CBS is just lucky to have her. My opinion.
Can I tell you something else that happened at the Time 100? This is an amazing moment. So, you have to wait in the line to get your red carpet shot. And I was going to get that red carpet shot because that was the reason to be there. I just felt like it was an F you bitches moment to like my old pals at NBC. It was just kind of nice from that standpoint. So I was waiting and we were right behind, I forget, I know nothing about the music industry, which I'm learning as I try to talk about the Diddy trial, but I know very little. But a big star, a big music star and his wife. And we'd all been waiting our turn. But this guy, forgive me for not knowing his name, but he was like the marquee talent for the night and everybody knew who he was, but not me. No, it wasn't Miles Smith. It was another guy. Keep going. No, it wasn't Ed Sheeran. No, it wasn't Ed Sheeran. It was a different guy. Anyway, whatever. Okay. They stopped. So we're all filing in from the left of the red carpet and waiting in line. I was behind Priyanka Chopra.
Okay.
Right? So she's pretty well known. Everyone's waiting. As we inch up and it's almost like our time to go out there, they stop our procession from the left side because clearly some big star is coming over from the right. I'm like, what is it, Tom Cruise? Who is it? Is it going to be like somebody we'd all be like, oh, of course, yeah, okay, fine. Security demands that they get in and get out. It was fucking David Muir.
Get the fuck out. Oh, David Muir, who, by the way, like Mariah Carey is only ever shot from one side. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah. He's only
and he's that way.
Oh, he's that way. No, he sits at the anchor desk like this. And he never moves. He's like a statue. And then what's great is when he has to parachute into a war zone or a natural disaster, you better fucking get him from this side only. Doesn't matter how many dead bodies are in the background.
No.
This side.
And bring my waist cinchers.
Oh, right.
Don't forget my waist cinchers.
Don't forget that.
I couldn't believe, I'm like, David Muir, you've got to be kidding me.
That is such an insult to you, Megyn.
And it's such an insult to me. It was. But it was an absurdity by him. I mean, honestly, like, he should have been embarrassed. Everybody was expecting some truly A-list talent to come in there. And we were all like, David Muir? Everybody in line was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Just the fact that he would do it is kind of humiliating. But he did it. Okay, so that was that. Okay. Oh, Scott Pelley. We can't leave this subject without showing you Scott Pelley at Wake Forest. I don't know why Wake Forest would invite Scott Pelley and sick him on their graduates with, as you accurately point out, I've never heard it said right like you did, lockjaw. He does have the lockjaw. That's not happening. With the glasses. So here he goes to speak to these poor graduates who are his captive audience. And keep in mind when you hear this clip of the free speech crackdowns that we suffered during COVID under Joe Biden, right? When he took over and how we got censored if we said, try ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine.
Right.
Or if you said COVID started in a lab and it wasn't natural origin. If you said it's causing serious side effects like myocarditis. All of the crackdowns, right, that we've had on free speech. The disinformation dozen, where they actively worked with social media to censor regular Americans, where he sicked the FBI on parents at school board meetings if they were saying the wrong things. And now is the time Scott Pelley would like to throw a word out there for free speech, and listen to him do it.
But in this moment, this morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack. And insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts. The fear to speak. In America. The Wake Forest class of 1861, they did not choose their time of calling. The class of 1941 did not choose. The class of 1968 did not choose. History chose them. And now history is calling you. The class of 2025.
So that's the Civil War, World War II, and the Civil Rights Movement. That's the same moment we're in now, as free speech is under attack and universities are under attack and somebody's private thoughts are filled with fear. I believe he speaks of himself. And that's his inspirational message to the class of 2025 at Wake Forest University.
He seems like a fun time.
Doesn't he? Good job.
That's exactly what I want to hear as I'm going out into the world and about to embark on my life. And it should be the most optimistic, hopeful time. And those are like, I'll say this, like my commencement speaker, you may be surprised, was Cornel West. And I freaking loved his speech.
I bet he was good.
He was so great. And it was so joyful. And he was like, you're going out into the world and it's like all yours. And like, it was just amazing. You know, it was so inspirational. And he really captivated everybody. And this is like, okay, there's no free speech. You're talking to kids who are running college campuses as they see fit. You want a tentifada? Have it.
Yeah.
Like, what is he talking about?
Yeah. Well, and it's just so ironic. It's like universities are under attack as the federal government tries to enforce Title VI, which doesn't allow open displays of anti-Semitism on campus. It's literally the law that they must step in if a college allows Jews, for example, to be openly harassed, like Columbia has, like Harvard has. It's just that nobody else would enforce these laws prior to Trump.
Right.
And now he's upset because he doesn't like that. But by the way, where was he when the federal government was interfering, like I say, with parents trying to protect their children, when the federal government was interfering with police departments across this country who had done nothing wrong, but were getting harassed by President Obama and then President Biden, setting up fake consent decrees to try to make them answer to Joe Biden in their law enforcement or Barack Obama in their law enforcement, which thank God Harmeet Dillon, now deputy at the DOJ, has just undone. He didn't care. He wanted them scrutinized. He wanted government interference then when it ran right in line with his own ideology.
For that matter, where was Scott Pelley and his ilk as all of this stuff we're learning about now, when the press was either complicit in or very happy to be told everything's fine here vis-a-vis Joe Biden.
Right.
Nothing to see here. Now we're learning in that Jake Tapper book, Hunter Biden was one of the people making crucial decisions.
Right.
Like that was the punchline. Oh, who do you think it is behind the scenes? Like Hunter, that degenerate? Yeah, it was. It was Hunter and Jill.
And Jill, who's really emerging as one of the worst most terrible first ladies in U.S. history.
100%.
It was interesting, I have to say, to see Sally Quinn of the Washington Post, and was married to Ben Bradley, the famous editor of the Washington Post for many years, and who he was much older than she was. That's why she's still around, and got dementia. So she does know a thing or two about being married to an elderly, somewhat infirm man. At least he was in his later years. He was, a giant of the press when he was younger. And she went on this podcast with Tara Palmieri and listened to what she said in SOT 8.
Well, honestly, I blame Jill Biden for this. Jill Biden is his wife. And if Jill Biden had stood up and had gone to him and said, Joe, you can't do it. And if you do, you're on your own. I'm out. He wouldn't have run. Because he couldn't have done it without her support. And, she clearly was in favor of his running. And I just think it was a terrible disservice to the country. I felt sorry for Joe Biden because I didn't think she was protecting him. She wasn't protecting him from himself. And after that hideous debate, right after the debate, they're in the spin room and she got his hand up and they're victory, we won, it was great. And the next day he's off in North Carolina and making a victory speech. I thought, what were they watching? I thought it was just elder abuse, really, what they were putting him through.
Yeah.
I think everybody was horrified that he was put in a position where he was allowed to run by his staff and by his wife. And
you got it.
Felt
you
sorry
get the basic
for him,
gist.
but it was still it was his.
So even the left is starting to come to terms with the fact that this looked very much like elder abuse by Jill Biden.
Yes. It's so galling that, she and Joe went on The View like 2 weeks ago and they knew this book was coming out. So, Joe's trying to shore up his legacy as one of the greatest presidents ever and losing his train of thought as he does. So he's like, right? And Jill's grabbing him going, well, let me just tell you that he was working 24 hours a day and, he's reading his briefing books and he's taking phone calls and I'm in bed with my novel, but there he is and he's just, blah, blah, blah. And it's all a lie. We all know it's a lie. And then, of course, they make the announcement about the cancer diagnosis like 2 days before the Tapper book is like officially published, but most of the media has seen it and like is talking about it. And it's so disgustingly cynical. And then, so The View, after they allow this Pravda-esque display at their table, and they're happy to do it because they're all Team Joe, right? Yeah. Team Jill, Team Dr. Jill. So Bob Iger reportedly, and then the head of ABC News, have a come to Jesus meeting with them, the hosts of The View, this brain trust. And they say, listen, you got to back off this anti-Trump stuff. Like, it's boring. You're losing half of the country, more than half. Knock it off. And so Ana Navarro, who there's not a name she doesn't love to drop. She and Sunny Hostin are always like elbowing each other. Who's closer to,
So unattractive.
She says, I won't do it. I will not. I don't care if you're Bob Iger. I don't care. I will not. I'm going to stay. So she's probably toast.
The people want to hear our opinions, she said, on politics.
She said that?
Yeah, they want to hear from us on politics. Do they?
It's a hate watch for me at best, but I can barely gut it out. You know? Barely got it out.
It's amazing that we're actually running these people, like Whoopi Goldberg's political analysis. Okay, I don't know how we got to the point where that became relevant. We do it just to make fun of them because they're very funny in an unintentional way. Yeah. But we'll see whether they do back off of all of this. All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, you may remember about, I don't know, was it like 6 weeks ago or so? Maureen and I, before there was Blonde Origin, there was With Love, Megyn. It was our parody on the Meghan Markle absurd Netflix series, which is her trying to be a Martha Stewart type and failing miserably. Well, we have a part 3. It's short. You're going to enjoy it. And even Maureen has not seen it. We will show it to you next. And if we have time after that, we got to bring you the update on Bill Belichick. Don't go away. Every dollar you spend is either supporting your values or working against them. That's just the truth. In today's economy, where you spend your money matters. Patriot Mobile is leading the way as America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Why wouldn't you want to help them? Why would you just give it to these random companies? You have no idea if they share your values or not. Switch today, and you will not sacrifice quality or service. You'll get exceptional nationwide coverage because, unlike most budget wireless providers, Patriot Mobile has access to all 3 major U.S. networks. You can even add 2 numbers on 2 networks on one phone, something the big guys cannot even do. Stay connected with flexible, unlimited data plans to fit your lifestyle. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you are supporting family, faith, and freedom. And switching is simple. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Patriot Mobile's 100% US-based team will get you activated in minutes. Think about all that, all right? So you're supporting your own values with your money. You're going with a company that has access to all 3 networks. You're going with a company that can give you 2 numbers on the same phone. You can keep your phone number. I need to do this. I don't know if I have Patriot. I got to talk Abigail Finan. We have to figure this out. This is a great deal. It's rare that I read the ad and I get talked live into doing it myself as I read it. PatriotMobile.com/Megyn. Let's all do it together. Or call 972-PATRIOT to get a free month of service with promo code Megyn. Make the switch. Defend freedom with every call and text. That's PatriotMobile.com/Megyn or call 972-PATRIOT. Here's an idea for someone who has everything. Hot salt. Yes, I said it. Hot salt. Exquisite, savory heat. Now you're interested, so let me tell you about Firecracker Farm, a wonderful little family company that makes hot salt, a delightful spice-infused sea salt. It has the perfect amount of heat and amazing flavor that makes everything taste better. Word's getting out, and people are loving it. That's because it's made with love. People can feel it and taste it. It's a small batch family operation, so supplies are limited. It comes in sleek stainless steel push grinders, plus you can take them anywhere. When you run out, they have refills. A little too spicy for you? Just mix it in with some regular sea salt to tame the heat, but you won't need to. It's blended to perfection. Honestly, it's the best thing to happen to food since fire. So what are you waiting for? Go to firecracker.farm right now and use code MK at checkout for a special discount. Firecracker.farm, code MK. Get some hot salt before it's all gone. You're going to thank me. So again, for those of you who haven't seen parts 1 and 2, they're also on our YouTube feed. But we decided to put a parody together of the Meghan Markle ridiculous Netflix series, With Love, Megyn, where she tries to reinvent herself as some sort of Martha Stewart type, doing the most ridiculous basic things like literally pouring pretzels from one bag into another. And we've been having so much fun at her expense. All of you asked for more, and indeed, we do have a short but worth it part 3. Here it is.
Previously on With Love, Megyn.
Oh my God!
Hi. You look amazing. Oh, you look even better.
Yes. I'm doing something really generous for you, and you're going to absolutely love them. And then I just dumped them. Wow. Just like that. It's very important to me to put a little fruit in my bubbly. I think it elevates it. Cheers, dear. I think people are happier when they're around me if they're intoxicated.
Finally, I can breathe again.
I've got it. 1 pot pasta is happening. I'm not reading. I have this in the head. You don't need to see that. Labels aren't important to me, Maureen. The 1 pan, that's important. 12-ounce cherry or grape tomatoes. Normally we'd get these from my garden, but it's not the season for tomatoes. You're gonna put that in the pan. You're just gonna lay that flat in the pan. It looks like little green pearls.
Green pearls.
Green pearls.
Green pearls, girls.
Green pearls, girls. Oh! So where'd you grow up? I'm from originally Los Angeles, and then, by way of Northwestern, wound up back in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just came back here because I have a natural connection to it. What I really wanted to do was direct my lifestyle blog, the time on Deal or No Deal, in which I was obviously the most coveted, looked after model. And then ultimately I moved on to acting. After that, I met Dee, we fell in love, I became a princess, I moved into a cat. Maureen!
Sorry. It's a lot. I can't absorb the enormity of your life. I don't even
Maybe you should put the drink down so you could pay better attention. All right, we have things to do. Into the pan! Didn't I tell you food is my love language?
This is probably my love language.
I'm not looking at a recipe. I've got this in my head. That's another thing that makes me special. We scattered some greens on there. This is fresh from my garden. Pay no attention to that sticker. I don't know how that got on me. Uh-oh. Oh, my dog just got in our pool, and there's the pool man trying to get him out, and he's all wet now. Okay, stand by. Be right back. Strudwick! Oh, Strudwick! Sorry. Oh, you went in the pool, didn't you? No. Bad boy. Don't let him rub up against you. Oh, God. You're good. Just don't rub up against anybody. He's very wet. It's been a while, and I kind of feel like it might be time for an outfit change.
I think we should both change this time. Part of our love language.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I could use a break anyway, so this is perfect timing.
Oh, fabulous.
I just threw it on. You?
Of course, naturally. I mean, this is really what I'm comfortable in most of the time.
I prefer to come home after a long day and just slip into something a little bit more elevated, if you will.
We're going to make a special fruit medley. It took my producer like 3 hours to pull the fruit together from the grocery store, so that's done. Moms, you can just whisk right over to your garden and then the Whole Foods and then the Trader Joe's. And ideally the farmer's market, and you too can come up with totally organic, natural, regenerative products like I have here. Let's get washing. Let's go.
I think this is a very relatable thing that you're doing here.
That's what I am. I'm relatable. I'm just like everyone else. No, they point down, point down. That's how I do it, which means it's the best way. All right, so this is just what I do. I just whip this up in the morning.
You could do this with one small row for your kids for breakfast.
Ideally in your white cashmere.
It's just fruit. It's just presented in a different way.
An early rise might really help, like 3 or 4.
There's a real delight in being able to be a present parent.
With the nanny.
Right, of course.
You've got to be able to just like go with the flow when you're a working mom.
We all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do.
If you literally have 7 hours to devote to your breakfast charcuterie, you're gonna wow them.
This is gorgeous. It's so sweet.
Nailed it. I can't wait to watch the children eat this whole thing. Do you have children? Where's my drink? Could you please pass my drink? I'm not sure why it's so far away. My God, it's exhausting being her. Ready? And voila! Actually looks delicious. Let's find out whether it is. Here we go.
Get all of the goodness in there.
Not bad.
Well, this has been so lovely.
So happy to have you here, my dear, close, lifelong friend.
I am so happy I could come and help you in your pursuit of joy, elevation, and perfection.
Nailed it. Strudwick!
I was wondering if you were going to use the black tie looks that we did.
We had to.
My recollection of that was somehow Strudwick jumping in the pool and you going out in the black tie look. Did I misremember that?
I guess so. Yeah, I thought that was what happened too, but now looking at the tape, no, I was still in my first outfit. For the listening audience, in the end there, we changed into full black tie gowns and furs. So her stupid series has her changing outfits every 2 minutes, like one does when one has a friend over.
Exactly, and especially like one does when one's trying to prove how relatable they are.
Yes.
You know, that you're not constantly switching in and out of trying to sort of one-up each other with your look, your look, that Megyn did not understand that word, allegedly. But yeah, no, that's what you do. And I think that, it was a day, Megyn. It was a day.
I think the whole thread of that one was she keeps having all these so-called friends coming on her show. And it's very clear as you watch the show, she knows nothing about her friends. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're my lifelong friend. But I was like, where'd you grow up? Do you have any children?
Like, what is your backstory? Like, what is your wiki thumbnail?
I know nothing about you. And by the way, I only want to talk about myself.
Only want to talk about you, as we discussed last time. You would ask a question and I would sort of try to jump in while retaining my dignity, and you would just cut me off and move on to some other thing that you were beautifully executing.
Right.
And by the way, can we talk about trying the one pot pasta?
What do you mean? When we actually ate it?
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
I thought it wasn't bad either.
I was impressed we did it.
What? Like, yeah.
For the record, we followed the Martha Stewart recipe, not
the Meghan Markle
which
recipe.
she did steal. Like if you look at hers, it appears to be just pure theft of the Martha Stewart recipe, which was decent. And so I haven't made it again, but it's there. But that charcuterie thing is such a nightmare.
That thing took forever. That was the longest thing we did.
No one could ever do that at home for a kid in the morning.
No, nor would they want to. I mean, and then finally Strudwick getting the cocktail. We drank like 5 glasses.
I know. He got our cocktails. He got our peanut butter roll thing in the first episode or second episode.
Oh, right.
And then he got our, what's the other thing he ate? He ate, I can't remember. There was a third thing he ate, but he was a menace, as he normally is, but he's a sweet boy, but a bad boy. So I do want to show you one other clip of her. She's out still doing her founder podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And she wanted us all to know, as she worked in that clip we ran there, to remind us she's a regular person, Maureen. She's a working mom. So she gets what it's like to be a working mom. Here's the clip.
I will say for myself, like, especially when they're babies. And yes, the crime, before I was a mom, and I've always wanted to be a mom. Before I was a mom, I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to give a speech with a baby on my hip. I had a whole vision. I was like, I'm just going to, and then you fast forward. Granted, I had a lot of external things happening by the time I had both pregnancies and both babies, but it was not the way I envisioned it. For me, it's so important that my kids see me as a working mom.
Oh my God. And that we all see her as that, because she feels guilty about the $150 million she grifted off of being a fake royal.
Me. So important. As I've predicted, once these kids hit 18, they are moving to the East Coast, if not out of the country.
Could be back to the UK entirely.
Or could be back to the UK entirely. Yeah. Exactly. And it was the whole thing too. She was saying on one of the other shows, I write them emails every night.
Yeah.
So 365, I can't do the math. 365 days times 18.
Yeah.
How many emails is that? Like
they're going to have the time to go through that?
No.
Who the hell wants to review thousands of emails from their mom when they were 2, when they're later 22?
And then, of course, I leave the room from them. We don't ever talk about the help, right?
Right.
I leave the room just to take a moment for myself into the other room. And then I miss them so much that rather than go back into the other room, I scroll on my phone.
Right. But she pictured herself giving her speeches with a child on the hip. She's just so cool. She's going to do it all. But now that she's a working mom, Maureen, she's realizing it's just so hard, the life-work balance, notwithstanding your huge mansion and your full staff and the fact that you're married to a prince. She understands the plight of working women across America.
Clearly she does. And also, I'm curious as to how she was going to give said speeches with a baby on her hip when Prince Harry has said the reason they left was largely to keep their children completely out of the public eye.
Right. Which she wants us to remind us of, that she's a princess and she was part of the royal family. That's why she couldn't give the speeches, because there was a lot going on in my personal life at the time my babies were born.
There was so much going on, like when you're slinging allegedly baseless accusations of racism against 2 of the most famous monarchs on the planet. There's a lot going on.
Couldn't have a baby on the hip because I had to sling those from the hip. Ba-dum-bum. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to get to the auto pen story on Monday because we don't have time for it, but it's interesting. There is an investigation underway, and there is reportedly a Democrat whistleblower saying who was signing it and when. So more on that. But quickly, Bill Belichick, video has hit of him leaving the home of what we now believe was his then girlfriend, Jordan Hudson. And this journalist, Pablo Torre, tracked it down. He was shirtless. It was before we really knew that they were having an affair, and she was so much younger than he was. Here's the video. Oh, my God. Oh, Pablo Torre got his hands on that and probably didn't know whether he should show us or not. And now there is an interview, right, of the woman who owned that house. Did she speak with Pablo Torre? I think this is it in SOT 20.
I'd come off the golf course, and we were just chatting about different things, and that's when she said that she wanted to know how far Danvers was, and I was like, oh, are you getting married? She's like, no, I compete in pageants. And I said, well, we're members at the golf course. Well, you should come and play with us. My friends have clubs they can lend you.
Yeah, she said she played. That's
yeah, she said she played, and she also said she prefers the men's senior shaft. So I just sort of didn't really think much about that until later.
OMG.
That's so good.
There's a question about whether, like, reportedly this is video that helped keep him out of getting another NFL coaching job. He wound up settling for the college level. And oh my God, look at this. And now there's speculation that did she leak it? Did she have something to do with it in order to, like, I don't know. Did she want him not to get another job at the NFL or just to be more dependent on her? I have no idea. But there's now reports that they're engaged. And you tell me how this is going to end, Maureen.
Oh, if I were one of Bill Belichick's kids, I would, just my opinion, I would be concerned for his physical safety.
Yeah.
I really would. I mean, we know he runs around like a slob. It's part of his flex, but this is all so inelegant. It is so unbecoming of a man who had that legacy. And it's the shaft.
Oh my God.
Chef's kiss.
Can you imagine? All I would say is akin to the theme in I, Jack Wright, available on BritBox. Don't change your will, Bill Belichick. Don't change your will to make her the beneficiary. And if you do, don't tell her about it.
100%. Although I do think she's running the show. And apparently, to a new report that just came up, apparently Jordan is being excised from polite society on Nantucket this summer.
So,
Nantucket. Maybe this may take yet another turn. We don't know.
We'll find out. Our own Link Lauren is very pro the Belichick-Jordan relationship, and you can tune into his show to find out why. But make sure for now you tune into, subscribe and follow Maureen at The Nerve with Maureen Callahan. It's perfect for a Saturday morning when you got your cup of coffee. That's what I'll be doing, and you can do it with me. Maureen, love ya.
Love you too, Megyn.
Thanks for being here. Thank you all so much for watching, and my thanks to the one and only Maureen Callahan. She's such a keeper. What a star. Don't forget to go and subscribe to her show, The Nerve with Maureen Callahan, on YouTube and on podcast. And listen, have a wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day, and take a minute, especially on Monday, to think about our troops who paid the ultimate price, and their families too, to keep this country safe and free. It's not just a day off, right? There are people who are really going to be thinking about lost loved ones on Monday, and let's make ourselves among them, thinking about those who gave it all in the name of freedom and liberty and all the great ideals that this country has fought and stood for almost 250 years now. We will have a special Memorial Day episode for you. These episodes that we've been doing the past few years on Memorial Day, where we feature a veteran who has caught our eye, they're extremely popular. And it's for a good reason, because we actually think long and hard about who we're going to book on those days, and you will not be disappointed on Monday. Do you know who John McPhee is? John McPhee is former Special Forces. He was on Sean Ryan and he was on Joe Rogan. But I'm telling you, you've never heard him like this. We went places I had never heard him go. He did not hold back. He's one of the most interesting people I've ever sat across from. He was right here in the Red Studio. And every moment between us, I was on the edge of my seat. The guy is unlike anybody I've ever talked to. I think you're going to love it. It airs on Monday, and I would love your feedback. In the meantime, you can email me, as always, Megyn@megynkelly.com. Have a wonderful weekend with your family, and we'll talk on Monday.